Io sono Giovanna Pancheri, la corrispondente di SkyTG24 da Bruxelles e dall'Europa in generale. Questo panel sarà in inglese, quindi per chi di voi ha bisogno c'è la traduzione. Today we are going to speak about freedom of expression, and I would say that on 7th of January 2015 this year, everyone also in Europe and in the Western culture realized that what we used to take for granted, freedom of expression, it was not so granted, and most of all had consequences, sometimes tragic one, with the attack Charlie Hebdo. And we realized something that in some part of the world are actually a daily concern, the fight for freedom of expression, the renounce and the sacrifice that someone has to do to broaden his own message. And today in this panel, we're going to discuss about it with 4 people that can testify with their own experience. What does it mean to just simply try to do his own job and give information to the people? So I want to introduce them briefly. We're going to discuss about it with Farida Nekzad, which is the co-founder and editor-in-chief of the Afghan news agency Wakht, that is employs mainly women in Afghanistan, and it's working on social and women issue as well. Anabel Hernandez, that's a very famous investigative Mexican journalist that works mainly on corruption and narcotics trades. And you can imagine how much it's going to be difficult to talk about this subject in a country like Mexico. And Abdulemam, that is a Bahrain blogger, the founder of Bahrain Online, that has been arrested several times, and he has to pay with his own freedom and also with his own citizenship, as we will tell us later, the price of just trying to give to his own people information about his own country. And Khalid Albaih, which is a Sudanese cartoonist that right now lives in Doha, but he comes back to Sudan once in a while, but with another identity, with a fake identity, since the Sudanese authorities are not welcoming him a lot anymore due to his works during the Arab Springs. And this is important because the cartoon that we are going also to show you about Khalid show how much sometimes freedom of expression can be considered as a threat, not just when it's linked to words, but that also when it's just linked to drawing, to images, to something that can be considered as fun. And while I was thinking about this panel, there was a famous sentence of German philosophers that come up into my mind. It's Arthur Schopenhauer, and he said once that the truth passes through 3 stages. The first is to ridicule the truth. The second is when truth is violently opposed, and the third, it is the moment in which truth is accepted as being self-evident. And the work of someone like Khalid, but not just Khalid, the work of the cartoonist, for instance, of Charlie Hebdo, was the first stage of this truth. You have to make fun of the truth, you have to mock the truth, and then it became something that everyone can see, and of course, it became also a matter of concern for people. And that was somehow the mission of the cartoonist and the journalist of Charlie Hebdo. And that's why we are going to start this panel with an important video message that the temporary editor-in-chief of Charlie Hebdo sent to us. He couldn't be here today because it's working every day to be sure that Charlie Hebdo is going to be every week for the people, not just of France right now, but of the world, and we want to continue the work of the magazine. So let's see the Gerard Biard message for us.
Buongiorno a tutti, vi ringrazio dell'invito. Purtroppo, come sapete, quello che è accaduto in gennaio ci ha messo a Charlie, diciamo, in gran difficoltà materiale, umana, quindi non posso, mi piacerebbe molto essere qui con voi a Perugia, soprattutto che conosco già Perugia, che è una bella città, però sono obbligato di rimanere a Parigi perché che è bello lo stesso, anche lei però. Quindi grazie a voi, vorrei dire in qualche parole perché a Charlie abbiamo continuato a fare quello che abbiamo sempre fatto, perché abbiamo voluto, anche se quello che è accaduto è terribile, abbiamo voluto andare avanti, perché vogliamo far capire a tutti, non soltanto ai francesi, no, ma a tutti gli europei e tutta la gente nel mondo, no? Tutti i democratici nel mondo, che esercitare un diritto non è una provocazione. Siamo stati spesso accusati di essere provocatori, perché abbiamo usato del diritto che esiste, della libertà d'espressione, della libertà di satira, della libertà di caricatura e della libertà del blasfemo. Il blasfema per noi è importante, non è perché è un piacere di bestemmiare, di anche insultare il potere divino. È importante perché è una forma di contestazione dell'autorità, e questo in democrazia è fondamentale. Se una democrazia proibisce il blasfema, se lo punisce con la legge, non è più una democrazia, perché punisce la contestazione dell'autorità. Per noi è questo forse una delle ragioni per la quale abbiamo deciso di continuare, perché quello che è stato colpito non è soltanto la libertà d'espressione, non è soltanto la laicità, non è soltanto la libertà di ridere, la libertà di satira, è anche è il cuore dell'idea politica della democrazia, della contestazione, della possibilità di contestare e della possibilità del dibattito. Abbiamo visto con l'attentato a Copenaghen che questa gente il dibattito non lo vuole, lo rifiuta, e questo non è possibile. Se rifiutiamo il dibattito siamo morti, noi siamo sempre vivi.
So, of course, thanks to Gerard Biard. And Gerard, I think in his message, it's raising a lot of very interesting points. And it's important for me that you, as our audience, you will participate to this panel. We will have a very important Q&A question. But I would like also to start from now, because there is a point that it's raising, Gerard, that we were discussing about a little bit yesterday with the panelists as well, about blasphemy. And it says that it's important for us because it's a way to contest. But at the same time, it's also true that after what happened, there was a general reflection around the public opinion on the fact that maybe freedom of expression should also retain sometimes when it goes to touching personal believing of people, religion, when it goes to insult something that for someone is very important. So I would like to know a little bit also from you. It's going to do a little, very fast poll. You just have to raise your hand. What do you think? Do you think that freedom of expression should be there anyway, anyhow, talking about, giving the possibility to talk about any kind of subject with no retainings, or do you think that someone, as a journalist, could also stop himself sometimes? So who thinks that there should be some limits and boundaries? Please raise your hand. Okay, so I will say that the majority, it's on the other side. Freedom of expression, no matter what, no matter how. I think that in this panel, maybe the situation is a little bit different, and we are talking with people that live on their own skin. What does it mean to fight for freedom of expression? That's why I want to start, asking to them a comment on Gerard's words. If you want, Farida, to talk a little bit about it, or...
Good morning. In fact, I respect as a journalist we respect as a journalist to every region and religious, and we respect the religious people. I'm not talking only about Islam or Muslim, but we have different religions. If we don't touch to the religious issue, it will be nice, because it will create conflict and create like war and fight against everyone, even in the families and the society and the countries. As we experience, and I really, as a humanity and as aspects of human, I really condemn and sorry about this, like tragic terror and Charlie Hebdo. It is against humanity, and in terms of some aspects of religious, it is difficult to judge by ourselves. But one thing, that freedom of speech is not something to limit by killing a person. We never can kill freedom of speech. If we kill one person, but there will be another to tell the truth. So I think, as a journalist, we continue our way, but we should respect every culture and religions. We have different issues, in the world, in such a tough situation, and different issues arising. It's better to, instead of some specific, to bring this challenge and this issue to create conflict. After the attack on the Charlie Hebdo office, and some unknown gunmen attack on some Muslim mosques. So it shows that, and also in the other countries, we have same experience, like Hindus, Sikhs, Christians, and Muslims, and Jewish, like different. So I, as a journalist, and particular, in a country such as Afghanistan, I think we should be careful and don't touch to the issues that create conflict to the country and make challenges for the investigation and freedom of speech. Thank you.
Come maybe from another kind of experience where it's not religion the main issue, maybe, know.
Okay, yeah, sorry. Well, I start saying that the question that she makes at the beginning is like black or white. And I think that in the real life, that is not true. It's not just about, say whatever you want to, that is freedom of expression. Also, you can lie about the secretary or the president, because that is freedom of expression. I think that is not the point. I think freedom of expression also is a responsibility, more when you are a journalist or more when you are in charge of one media. I think in this specific case, for me, I have to confess, it's really difficult to give my opinion. In my country, for example, the issue is not just laugh about religion. The issue is about drug cartels. The issue is about kidnaps that exist every day. The issue is about people that is decapitated in the streets. The issue is people that disappear just suddenly, as the 43 students that I think you know the case. So freedom of expression about that kind of investigations, of course, have to be very open. I mean, denounce the corruption, denounce the cartels, denounce the abuse of powers, denounce abuse against child, denounce abuses against the woman. That is the issues for me that are really very important. So maybe I don't really understand the context about the work that magazine were doing. I think that journalists also have to practice tolerance. The tolerance is not one part that just one side have to practice. I think we should practice everyone, every day, in our life, tolerance with a bad husband or with a kid. I mean, you know, we have to practice tolerance. Of course, nothing can justify what happened that day. Nothing. That have to be very clear. We're talking about killing people, and nothing can justify that.
And Ali, does it mean for you, what happened at Charlie Hebdo on January the 7th?
Well, sorry. I think, as it's been mentioned in the video, that the democracy is accepting that we are different, and I don't think that somebody should be killed because of his ideas or his beliefs, because we will enter into a war that everybody is gonna kill everybody. So accepting that we are different is the most important point, and this is the basic of the democracy. Yes, I understand that I came from a society that is a very conservative society, that religion is playing a big role in it. In every space that you will walk in the street, you will see the religion is strongly present in that societies, and I can understand that they became so angry if you touch their holy things. But is the solution is to kill someone who make fun of you or fun of your religion? This will end up that I'm gonna kill you and you will kill me and our children will get into war. And actually this is what I'm afraid of it now for the future of our region, that the raising of the identity is very strong. Everybody is looking into his society or his group, and he doesn't want to see the others like a human being. Either they change or convert to his identity, or he's gonna erase them by any means. So I believe that we should accept each other as a different, and that doesn't mean that we vanish ourselves or our identity. It's just we are human, and that's it. You have your belief, you have your way of thinking, and we should all believe that freedom of expression is our way to live together, not our way to fight each other.
Khalid, as a cartoonist, do you think that actually, you should continue to use drawing as a weapon, and the way in which Charlie Hebdo is doing that, it's just a positive provocation? Or do you think as well that also in your specific kind of work on drawing, on cartoon, there should be sometimes respect and tolerance, as Anabel was saying?
As everyone said, we need to accept that we come from, we live in the same world, but there's different cultures. And we need to understand at least what we're talking about when you draw a cartoon. I personally work in a very different kind of way. Like, we don't do the whole engage in deliberately offensive humor, Maybe we did that when we were in kindergarten, but we don't. When you grow up, you find that what is the message behind this humor that I'm doing, right? as cartoonists and as artists and as activists in the Middle East, we, just like Ali is here, we risk our lives for daily, right? Because we want to state our opinion, because we want to say the truth, because we want to say what's happening, we want to deliver a message, and as everyone else said, tolerance and understanding, and this is the problem. You can't sit on a high chair and say you're either Jisui Charlie or you're a savage. Yeah, that kind of defeats the purpose of freedom of expression at the same time, So I never agreed with the way that they use the medium. I thought it was a very childish way to depict a very serious situation. I mean, and it was shown. I mean, before the incident, if you want to read real news, you will read Le Monde or whatever, But if you it wasn't part of the real news, And this is what we engage in as cartoonists in the Middle East. We deal with real people dying every single day.
Indeed, maybe one of the interesting point about Charlie Hebdo, that was a story that was so much felt and perceived in the Western world because it was happening in France, in a country where we take every kind of rights, especially freedom of expression, for granted. But there are other parts of the world where the real enemy are not terrorist group, but are governments. And all these people here in the panel can actually testify that.
But sorry, I just want to say one thing, that Muslims are the biggest victims of terrorist groups. Yeah, every day there's 200, 300 people dying in Syria, right? There's people dying on your shore every day to escape the hell that that we live in. It's not as simple as you think. And he said that if there's not a law against blasphemy or against whatever, then we're not going to stop. We're going to do that. We're going to offend 1.6 billion people because it's my right to do that. 1.6 billion people because I think I have the right to do that. What is the message that you're delivering? That you have the right to do that? I'm sorry, but I think that's very selfish. I have the right to say that, and I will say it, and I've said 1.6 billion people will not like you anymore. The minute you say France or the minute you say Europe, everybody's like, I don't know, man, Do you want that, or do you want to bring the world together? People, when they say France, we're like, oh, that's great, man. They actually understand what we're going through. This is excellent. This is what I'm talking about. And if there is the only thing that's stopping you from killing somebody is democracy having a rule against that, I'm sorry, but you have to work on your humanity. And again, I totally condemn what happened, of course, and we said that again and again, not to apologize because for what these idiots did, because we are the biggest victims of them.
Don't forget that there were also two Muslim victims among the victims of the attacks in Paris. So
exactly. One of them was a policeman.
That touched all the religion. It was not just,
But people don't see that, because even in Charlie Hebdo, what they did was they fed into that stereotype. It's that stereotype that we're trying to break. The Hollywood movie, the Mexicans are drug cartels. Afghanistans are Taliban. The Arabs are, oppressors of women. It's simple cartooning. That's what it was. You have a deadline that you need to catch, and you just do exactly what comes to your mind. That image that is stuck to everybody here, an African is a child with a big belly with a fly going around. It's exactly the same thing that you've been seeing in the news since whenever, And this is exactly what should change about the journalism, and exactly what should change about media now, that we need to change those stereotypes. We use iconography. I use iconography all the time, but you need to try to talk to people as they're smart, not as they're stupid, and that's the problem that we face. This fight is not about freedom of expression. These people did not kill these cartoonists because they were fighting the freedom of expression. No, they wanted to kill somebody. That's what they do. They attack church. They killed people in a university. in Kenya, 147 people. Did anybody care? Nobody cared.
Yeah, absolutely. But as a matter of truth, I mean, of course, Gerard is not here, so if you want, I'm gonna do the advocate of devil a little bit, because otherwise there is no one doing that. And just to let you know, about 3 years ago, I had the opportunity to interview Stéphane Charbonnier, which is the former editor-in-chief of Charlie Hebdo that was killed on January the 7th. And of course, at that time, he was drawing cartoons about the Muslim world, and there was protests everywhere around, especially in North African countries, against France and Charlie Hebdo. And in the interview, I found very interesting, at one point we were talking about, it was the period in France where the pictures of Kate, the Princess Kate, in topless were published in France and not in UK. So there was a big debate on that, and I asked him at the time, what do you think? I mean, would you publish the pictures of topless Kate? And he was like, you know, we are not a picture magazine, first of all, but even if I want, because this, I think, it's an insult to the private sphere of people. Whereas what we do here at Charlie Hebdo is to take what is in the news, to take the main issue that is in the news, and from there, trying to be provocative and to, you know, make fun of it through our drawing and cartoons. So I think this is also a very interesting reflection that he did, you know, that there are, even for them, there were limits that were inside the private sphere of person, that, you know, it's just a point that I draw and then maybe throw onto the table, then we're gonna...
But cartoons are not about making a joke. They're not about having a gag. It's not, everybody can make a joke. It's not about making a joke. It's about delivering a message, and it's about asking questions. You are trying to introduce a problem to society. This is what cartooning is about. It's not about telling a joke or showing the prophet naked or showing whatever, or whoever. It's not about that.
Maybe the problem that I want to raise was the fact that you cannot have fun of this, you know, and that it's not allowed in the Muslim culture. But that's it. That's just because, I mean, it's due to them as well. We're going to go back on to that, don't worry. But we were saying before that, apart, of course, from terrorist groups, there are also governments sometimes that retain journalists all around the world to do their jobs. And all of these people here can testify. I would like to start with Farida and her own experience in Afghanistan. And, you know, we were saying yesterday that during the Taliban period, you couldn't even have press in Afghanistan. Then this thing developed, but right now the situation is not, you know, a calm one at all. Can you share with us a little bit of your experience, please?
Yes, sure. Thank you very much, Ms. Jana. In fact, during the Taliban, of course, maybe some of you have already information. During the Taliban, there was no press, only one governmental as a tribune of activity of Taliban. And there was none of the independent news organization or the civil society activists. But fortunately, after fall of Taliban in 2001, a new page for civil society and journalists, even I can say, for women, we open a new page. And we can say, in the history of Afghanistan, we don't have such a really great media presence and media press freedom or freedom of speech. Of course, beside of that, we have challenges because since the fall of Taliban, we have about 50 TV channels, which is only one government. And we have more than 10 news agencies, independent, one include of one governmental. And we have more than 500 publications, include of a newspaper, weeklies, or like a magazine, like different others. So it's, and more about 100 FM radios. So it shows that development of the and progress of media, particular about independent media. After the fall of Taliban, the international community gave some chance, and by supporting of that, the press freedom and freedom of speech and the development of progress of media gave some position that we start investigate the different issues. You know, Afghanistan is since 4 decades, the ground for war and fight. So we bring different issues. At the beginning, till 2007, it was okay, but after 2000, or since 2007, I can't say again, unfortunately, we face different challenges. Security is the general and main problem, and challenges for all, and particular for journalists. And for female journalists, it is worse. But we still have censorship. We still have like lack of access to information. Even we have very good mass media law, and in the constitution there is guarantee our protect of journalists. But unfortunately, there is no safety and security for journalists. There is no safety of themselves and no safety for their job, and they are feeling really particular. The most important I want to point it at, you know, when journalists targeting their some NGOs or non-government organization and civil society organization, like we are really thankful, like IFJ, CPJ in New York, like RSF and some other organization, they already put pressure on the government side, or by open letter and by pressing. Otherwise, the government, in fact, forget the journalists, and they never protect as we have the right in the constitution or mass media law. So that is why we have still the problem, because still we have warlords. If you heard about, we have warlords in Afghanistan, and they don't want to bring their faces on the top of, because they're on the top of position. They're in the administration team of government. So how journalists should be right about them? Because the worst, 2014 was the worst year for journalists. We lost about 4 journalists totally since 2014. We lost 4 journalists, including 2 female journalists. The 2 female journalists, which was my trainee and my student, and they killed because of their professional. So there is never investigate the cases of murder of the journalists. So we still have problem, because if we're writing about violence, if we're writing about corruption, we're writing about trafficking, we're writing about human rights. Of course, every single of those, they are involved in these issues. They are in the top position, and they will create problem. They are treating journalists, they are kidnapping the journalists, they are treating the families, and some of those. So these problems and these challenges still in Afghanistan. But I can say these decades, it means after the fall of Taliban, it is really something, big achievement of the Afghanistan government and the international, by support of international community. But this is the point. Since a while, maybe since the withdrawal or ISAF, it's supposed to be forgotten. And it is the bullet point for us as a woman, as a journalist, and a woman activist, because before everyone was attention for the women's rights, human rights, and journalists, and protection of journalists. But now we think it's not only that government of Afghanistan forget the protection of journalists. There is no investigation, the murder of journalist cases, but now we have the less protection and support according to their international commitments during the international conferences such as Bonn, Tokyo, and others. They're forgetting that they should support the press freedom and freedom of speech in Afghanistan and protection of journalists. Thank you.
Farida, you didn't speak about it, but also we know that you suffer from, yourself, you were personally treated during these years for what you do. And indeed, I wanted to ask you, we discussed a little bit also yesterday about it, and I found it very interesting. You were saying there is not anymore the spotlight on Afghanistan, so there is maybe the impression that the situation there is calm, but it's not at all the case. You still don't have certain kind of rights, you still don't have certain kind of freedoms. And how is the situation for women? Do you think that if you, someone that did what you did, being a man, would it be easier for him in Afghanistan than for you as a woman, still until now, or not?
Yeah, as shortly I just mentioned, the life of female journalists is a little bit more dangerous than men. And men, of course, the man journalists, they can decide by themselves. They go anywhere they want to go for investigate, for to travel or like participate any. But unfortunately, even some of the female journalists, there is a few problem. One, in terms of the newsroom, you know, the decision makers, they're all men. And when a female journalist want to go for coverage of something like military issues, they don't allow her, says, no, you can't go. Why she can't go? Because she want to go, but she doesn't allow. It is one point. The other point, the family, the social problem, you know, in the society, female are still not, because of lack of the education, mostly our people still, they're looking to women as a second-hand something, you know, they don't respect as much as we should respect in the society. Particular, they don't respect the female journalists, and the professional journalism for female, they don't never accept that women should work as a journalist. This is the problem, because when she start working, the neighbors start like whispering and just talking with his family, and his family try to stop her, then she doesn't want to stop. So it's conflict, and in terms of investigation, you know, a female journalist can go directly to the victims, like if she in a sexual victims, like rape cases, like violence, and the hospital, they can easily go to take interview, but the man can't. But this is a problem. If these, we unfortunately, the number of female journalists, my last data which I received, unfortunately, from Afghanistan, when I traveled in 2001, 2003, 2004, I traveled most of Afghanistan because of the conducting of training and workshops. I had more than 25% or like 30%, but it means participants, but off of them, it means 50 or 45% was female. But nowadays, if we have a workshop or like training, and the 30 participants, only we have 3. And 95 participants, I have only 4 female journalists. So now you can judge how tough is situation for female journalists, because the limitation, because of the pressure, because of the conflict, because of the society, because of the security, and because of the safety. Unfortunately, we lost 6, 7 female journalists since 2005. And there is no investigate about their murder and no punishment. Unfortunately, none of those people, they were killed, not arrested and never punished. So that is why the cases of murder and violence against journalists, particularly female, is getting to be increased day by day. And the situation for female journalists also getting worse. And as you maybe know, the situation for all, according to Amnesty International, the last report since launch in 1 week ago in Afghanistan, it says that all the women activists are targeted because their work. We want to be the voice of women. We want to be the voice of freedom, but you know, they don't let us to work. This is the big problem in Afghanistan. But men are a little bit better than female.
A country where men or women, being a journalist, could have problem, it's Mexico. And you know, talking with Anabel briefly yesterday, I know what it comes into the Western news about Mexico, just a few things, so I'm not an expert at all. And you know, my first thinking was, when you are an investigative journalist in Mexico, maybe the main threat for you is going to come from the organized crime organization. Anabel was, no, not at all. My main problem was the government, was the police. Can you share a little bit with us your experience?
Well, I think that first, to understand which is now the problems about freedom of expression in Mexico, you have to really understand the context. First, I have to tell that in the last 8 years, more than 100,000 people have been killed in Mexico. Not just journalists, common people, businessmen, women, kids, young people. Many of these people were kidnapped or tortured before being murdered. More than 25,000 people have been disappeared in the last 6 years. More than 100 journalists have been murdered in this time. Many of these journalists was tortured before, cut in pieces, put that pieces in black bags of garbage, and that bags were thrown just over the streets. That's the things that we are living in Mexico. So if you understand, the risk is not only for the journalist. The risk in Mexico is for everyone. Not just for the journalists that denounce organized crime or corruption. It's for everyone, even the common people. So I have been an investigative reporter for the last 20 years. I have been investigating the drug cartels since the last 10 years. I get involved in a very, very, very deep investigation about the Sinaloa cartel. And I used to think that, well, the cartel is all the members of the cartel are very smart, and that's why they are very, very powerful in Mexico and in the rest of the world. But what I discovered in my investigation is the cartels in Mexico are very powerful because they are related with the government in all the levels. I wrote a book called Los Señores del Narco, was translated in English and in Italy last year. The name is Terra di Narco, which is the name? Yeah. And well, you will be able to find name by name the names not just of the lords of drugs in Mexico, also the names of the public serfs, members of the politicians, members of the presidential families in the last years, decades, that have been members and that have been having ties with these cartels. So in my own experience, it's more, I think in Italy it could be the same. And these things happen every day. And it's very dangerous when we are not able to see it, that sometimes the mafia is in the government, and that government mafioso is more dangerous than the cartels because they have guns and they have the power to use them and with impunity. So when I published this book, I received threats, not from the cartels. The threats came from the Secretary of Public Safety. He works for the federal government. His name is Genaro Garcia Luna. I put his name, I put proofs, documents, not just comments, not just what I think, documents that prove that this guy and the members of the federal police were working for the Sinaloa cartel, and they also were trafficking drugs and kidnapping people in Mexico. And that's why this man hired some cops on December of 2010 to kill me. So since now I have to live with bodyguards all the days. And on these years, very, very terrible things have happened to me. Some of my sons were murdered or disappeared. My family was attacked several times. The last time occurred on December of 2013, because I never stop. Even all the threats, I continue my work, because I think that is really the freedom of expression. Prove to the society where is the danger, where is really the danger. That is not something untouchable. The danger, the corruption, the bad people in the world has names. And the work of the journalists is reveal that names with proofs to open the eyes of the society. I decide never stop. So on December of 2013, one armed command came inside where at the place where I live. They put guns in the head of my neighbors. Also one girl that just was 6 years old. And this gunman forced my neighbors to say where I live. This gunman get inside my house. I wasn't there. I am a single mother. I have 2 kids, but we weren't there. These people didn't steal anything from my house. They just want to search in my documents. I think what they were looking for, of course, that documents weren't there. And but it was for me really the last call, because these 11 gunmen were federal police. So the government organized the attack against my house and against me. So for me it was the last call. I decided to depart from Mexico on last August. It had been one of the most difficult things in my life, decisions. It was very painful. But even now, I am working in UC Berkeley. They hired me to make an investigation about organized crime and also about the 43 missing students. And if the Mexican government think for 1 minute that they can stop me, they cannot. That is the freedom of expression.
That's amazing.
Thank you, Anabel, for sharing with us this very touching personal experience that you had. But as a journalist, I have a question. You're saying that now you are investigating on a missing student in Mexico. So after all that happened to you, after the problem that you had in Mexico, how do you manage to still find sources inside the Mexican government? It's difficult, or at the end you see that thanks to all the effort that you've done in the past, there are more people willing to open themselves to you. How does it work now for you with sources in Mexico?
Well, as you know, as a journalist, find sources anywhere is always difficult, isn't it? Everywhere. I mean, of course, it's difficult to, have been difficult always to find sources in Mexico. It's difficult now also. But as you know, I really think that good people really wants that the truth became revealed. So I found a lot of sources about the case of the missing students. That's why I was the first journalist with my colleague Steve Fisher that we make together this investigation of the case for UC Berkeley. We published this investigation in the magazine Proceso in Mexico, and we were the first one that shows one video that proves that the federal government participated in the attack and disappearance of the students. We got this video, and we also got many documents that proves that the government were monitoring to the students 4 hours before the attack. And the government never want to say that because they just, all this story, the official story that the federal government have been telling all these months, more than 6 months now, are just lies. The work of the government is trying to hide the truth. And the truth is that the federal government, with members of the organized crime, killed these students. The question is why, and we are still working on that.
Thank you, Anabel. And talking about people that are threatened by their own government, I'm sure that the case of Ali, it's, you know, it's an important example in this sense. You found this Bahrain Online blog on 1999, and but you're not anymore the administrator. Actually, since few months, you're not anymore a Bahrain citizens as well. Can you share a little bit with us what happened to you for just, you know, doing your job?
Hello, yeah. Before I go into my own personal story, I will just answer your first question about how the authorities are attacking the journalism and I think this is more important to focus on it because the authorities has the power and they can they have the law and the power. They can imprison you, torture you, or kill you even. In Bahrain, when the uprising started in 2011, at least 3 journalists killed with a cold blood by the authorities, 2 of them under torture. 1 week after they arrested them, they called their families and asked them to come and receive their bodies. And the mark of torture was clearly appeared in the pictures of their bodies. More than 50% of the body of journalism in Bahrain being attacked. Either they are being imprisoned or being fired from work or being forced to live in exile. Actually, we have more than 15 journalism and blogger living in exile right now from Bahrain. And we have more than 20 journalism, photographer, activists. They are in jail now and subjected to torture. Among them, Hameidan, for example, he is a photographer and awarded many awards internationally. The last one was from New York. He was in prison because of his work that he was trying to document all the violation by the security forces. Also, Hussein Hbel is a blogger who is also an awarded of, I think, the International Federation for Journalism Award. I'm not sure about this, but he was awarded, and now he is in prison because his picture was really an amazing picture. He was taking a woman in the middle of a cloud of tear gas in the street, in the middle of a village. And this is how the government is punishing the people of Bahrain. When there is a protest or demonstration in any village, they will just tear gas the whole village. Even inside the houses, they will throw the tear gas. So this is the situation for the journalism in Bahrain. So about my own experience with the government, I started the website in 1998, and it was just like a platform to allow people to write their story, their review, what they expect for the future of Bahrain. When I started that site, I was anonymous. I couldn't reveal my real identity because at that time we were living in the state security law that the government can arrest you for 3 years without any charge, without any question, and they can renew those 3 years. There was no public prosecution at that time. There is nothing at all. It's all the authorities was with the Ministry of Interior. But when the new king succeeded his father in 1999, he promised that a new era is coming to Bahrain. So he promised with the freedom of expression. He promised that the better days is still coming in Bahrain. So maybe it's our mistake that we believed this king and we revealed our real identity. But in 2002, he brought us up the published law, which is worse than ever, that a journalism can be imprisoned for an article and he should reveal his source if the authorities ask for those source. Okay. I was running a website which is outside this published law. Because when you read the published law, when it's defined the media, it's only applied on the printed media. It doesn't apply on the online media. So it's a bug in the law. It's not my fault. But they apply that law on me. The first time they tried to block and censor my website since 2002. And we still find our ways to the site. I mean, not me, even the people of Bahrain. At that time, the website was receiving more than 200,000 hits per day. And you can imagine that the people of Bahrain, around 700,000. That means it's the most popular and visited website in Bahrain. From 2002, they start to block the site. It didn't work. They start to write on me on the traditional newspaper, threatening me to take me to the public prosecution and to the court, blah, blah, blah. It didn't work. In 2002, they arrest me. And I was charged with 5 charges. 3 of them is insulting the king from different law. And after 2 weeks, they released me from the pressure by the international community and NGOs. But in 2010, the government was like going in a crazy situation. They want to silence everybody, so they arrest 500 persons, around 500. Some of them are human rights defenders, journalism, clerics, youth activists. Everybody was arrested just to silence the street. At that time, I was subjected to torture, sexual abuse, threatening with my family and my wife. They will fire my brother from his work. And they were insulting me, insulting my sector, insulting my family. I was isolated for 2 months underground in a confinement cell. And I was forced to sign a confession that I didn't read. I didn't know what is it. And after 2 months, they took me to the court. And I make it clear to the judge that I've been subjected to torture. I've been forced to sign this confession. And this is my situation during the past 2 months. I'm asking you to reinvestigate the case and make a case against those who tortured me. And they are here in the court. They were the officers who were torturing me. They were sitting in the back in the court. And I told him that they are here in the court. And we make it clear to document it in the court that this is what happened. And we need a move from you. Nothing happened. The judge didn't investigate or did anything. In the middle of 2011, the Arab Spring and uprising happened to arrive Bahrain. Under the pressure of the street, the king was forced to release us. It was in 23rd February, but in the mid of March, the Saudi invaded Bahrain and they take control of the whole country. And they raided my house. It was less than 3 weeks. I wasn't in the house, so I went into hiding for 2 years. I wasn't living with my family for 2 years. I lived with the TV for all of my time, just watching the TV and the same TV tomorrow and the same TV maybe next month. It was just like that, my life. I have a contact only to one man who is bringing me the food and these things. I wasn't allowed to go outside because the situation was horrible. The martial law was declared by the king, and the people were killed after few days from they being arrested. It was a horrible situation. Until after almost 2 years, I managed to escape from Bahrain, and my family came to me. Just last January, I just happened to know that my citizenship being revoked suddenly from a WhatsApp message coming to my phone that's saying 72 journalism got their citizenship being revoked, and I am among one of them. I do remember at that day I was talking to my aunt on the phone, and she was, well, this is a story good to tell. Well, when they raided my house, I was in my aunt's house. So my family told me that your house being raided, so I was going into my safety house. So she was telling me, why you are doing this? Why you are putting yourself in danger? You should stop all of this work. I said, because I don't want to live I don't want my son to live the life I lived in fear, like the life you lived it and you inherited to us, that we always afraid from the police and afraid from talking. I want my son to live in peace, and if he wants to dream to be a prime minister, it's from his right. If he is a good student and if he is successful in his life, he should be the prime minister. I don't want him to just dream of being a teacher or a labor or something. I don't want any limitation for the next generation. We lived in Thank you, but it's in reality, Bahrain is ruled by an absolute dictatorship. I lived in fear when I was kid, and I do remember some stories from my father and from the neighbors that they used to live in fear. They are afraid from going in the street for some times. I don't want this is to be the future of my country or of my kids. That's why I was reminding my aunt in late January when I heard about my citizenship being revoked, that this is the price that if we didn't pay it, then we will not succeed to build our future for this country.
Thank you. And Ali, I wanted to ask you, okay, you were working a lot also on the Arab Springs, as also Khalid and Farida, but now that you tell us all your experience, all what's happened, all that you have to pass through, do you think that at the end it was worth it? Now that in Bahrain the situation is still difficult as it used to be, or not? It's a provocative question, of course, but I mean, all your sacrifice, all that you have to pass was...
Well, for me, I think if I don't pay this price, then I'll be guilty and I'll be ashamed of myself, because I lived with the people of Bahrain and I know how kind they are. I played with them when I was kids. It's hard to me to know that my friends who own a bookshop and he is a journalism, and the first book I bought it from my own money was from his bookshop, killed in 2011 under torture. I'll be ashamed if I didn't be the echo of his voice, if I didn't reflect his image. So if I kept silent, nothing will happen or nothing will change. Then those dictators will win the battle. But it's not about is it worth or not. I believe it's our duty. And I'm happy to pay the price. And if I look into the price, what was the price? I was subjected to torture for around 6 months, and I'm now living in exile. But there are people who are dying in the street in Bahrain, who are tear-gassed in Bahrain. So who is paying more? So if I am going to compare between what I am doing and what they are doing, I'm just trying to be the echo of their voices. Now I'm living in exile. Yeah, I want to go back, but I want to go with dignity, not only for me, but also for the people of Bahrain, for the youth who are suffering inside Bahrain.
We all hope that there is going to be the day in which you will come back in Bahrain as a free man. Talking about Khalid, talking about the fact that not just war sometimes can be dangerous, but also cartoon. You are an important example in the sense. We're going to show now some of your work on the screen. Maybe possiamo mostrare alcune delle vignette di Khalid, and most of your cartoons come to the public attention to the world public attention during the Arab Springs. If you can tell us a little bit about your own experience and also what you had to suffer in Sudan and the consequence in your life of your work. Thank you.
First of all, I'm very, very privileged to be in this panel. You guys are amazing, and you guys are true heroes. Seriously, and it started from Ali, Farida, and yourself. This is amazing, and I think this will be really good for the students here to see what journalists have to go through in other parts of the world and what's going on in the other parts of the world. I draw. I don't do anything Um, my father was a diplomat. I was born in Romania. I'm a black Romanian. There's a lot of us. It's not a happy situation in airports at all. Like, why do you have a fake black Romanian? It's a really stupid fake passport. We went back to Sudan, and I went to school there for a while. And my father was the revolution happened basically, and it's the same president that's still ruling Sudan until now, and this was 25 years ago. This tells you how much democracy we have, huh? So my father was jailed because he belonged, for nothing else but belonging to the other regime. That's it. He didn't do anything. You know, he was a diplomat, but as soon as the next regime came, everybody that belongs to the other regime goes to jail or dies. This is like a rule. So that's why everybody avoids politics in the Middle East. So we had to leave, and we had to leave the country just like a lot of doctors, professors, intellects from Sudan. We left, we went to, we lived in Doha. I still live in Doha until today. And I always liked comics, and I always liked art, and of course, you know, politics was a big part of my life. You know, being my father was a diplomat, my uncle was a president at some point of Sudan. My other uncle staged the coup and got assassinated, and each one of them belonged to a different party. So the one that was president was an Islamist. The one that staged the coup was a communist, and they all lived together and ate together, and it was all about dialogue. Everybody talked, and it was no hard feelings, you know. And I grew up around that political dialogue, which was amazing. So when I was in Doha, I was really. We were warned basically because the Arabic Gulf was kind of like the safe haven for a lot of people coming from the not so safe Arabic countries, you know, like Sudan and Egypt and you know, Morocco, Syria, Lebanon, you know, the rest of them, the not so stable countries. So we were always told not to talk about politics and stay away from politics because this is the reason why we left home, you know, and it's a very apolitical society. We're not supposed to talk about politics at all. Just go to school, come back from school, eat and sleep, and that's it. So I was very interested in politics because I wanted to tell my friends what's going on. I really wanted to understand what's going on for myself and let people be interested in what's going on, because as Ali said, how long are we supposed to live outside our countries, and for what? So politics was the reason that I was outside my home, and that's why I was very interested in it. And then I discovered cartoons. My father used to bring these two Egyptian political cartoon-based magazines. One is called Sabah al-Khair, the other one is called Rosal Yusuf. They're 100 years old, amazing newspapers. And I discovered cartoons and how simple they depict the message and how close they are to the general public. Even the people that do not want to talk about politics and they don't like to talk about politics, they look at the cartoons. Because newspapers in the Middle East are basically the same front page since like the 60s. It's the same thing. You know the news before it like you even read the news, because it's you know, our great leader said hi to the other great leader and everybody's great, we love our leader, you know. It's always the same story. So people don't even read the first page. Everybody turns to the last page and sees the cartoon because it kind of tells what's going on, because it's like a satire of, yes, we're happy, everybody's great, we're not hungry at all. So I loved that, and I started in university. I started working a little bit and trying to do cartoons here and there, and we had a student union, a very apolitical student union in university. So I started making cartoons about that, and people liked it, and the the management of the student union didn't like it, so I thought I was doing a great job. So I came back after university and I wanted to do it as a profession. So I went and I started applying for all these newspapers everywhere. And I always got refused because my work looks a bit different, and because, of course, censorship. So that was like until 2009, 2010. And I got kicked out of an editor's office once, and for me that was it. I was so upset, and I always say this, but he kept stressing about that there is no speech bubbles in the cartoons. He's like, where are the speech bubbles? And I was like, what's so important about speech bubbles? You know, you don't have to have speech bubbles for it to have a card. So and that just tells you how the management and how leadership in the Arab world was so far removed from the young generation. And that's why they didn't have, you know, internet laws like for Ali's website and so on. They didn't understand the internet. They thought we're just online watching porn the whole day. So, you know, and that shocked them that they found out that we're actually talking to each other and we're actually communicating with other activists and trying to build something that later became a revolution and later became activism. So I built my Facebook page. I did my Facebook page, and it was just a few friends and whatever. And then the Arab Spring happened. And I remember the first day of when I saw the protests of Bouazizi in Tunisia burning himself, basically, in protests of the policemen taking away his business, you know. And this guy is a university graduate who doesn't have a job, like 90% of the population in the Arab world. So I did a cartoon which was my hand giving the middle finger, and the middle finger was the flag of Tunisia, and the other fingers were Egypt, Libya, Algeria, and Sudan. So I got 3 out of 5. So I don't think that's really bad. The other two were also the revolutions did happen, did start, protests did start, but they were killed, and a lot of people died. So from there, it just, you know, the cartoons went everywhere, and a lot of people started using them. A lot of activists started using them, and a lot of people on the ground started using them in Tunis, in Egypt, in Syria, in Yemen. So for me, as a person working from a studio in Doha, which is very safe, and you know, I'm watching all of this through Al Jazeera, I felt like I was part of this. I finally found people who think like me, and then I realized that we are all in the same situation. We all face that editor that kicked us out because he doesn't understand or he doesn't appreciate our work. And this is why the Arab Spring happened, you know. So, and from there it just happened, and I keep doing my cartoons every day, and now I'm here.
Thank you. And I would like to move to the Q&A session. We're going to have some minutes more since we start later, but indeed, before doing that, I just wanted to tell you that I really feel honored to moderate this panel, and you should really feel lucky to have the opportunity to ask questions to these people here today on stage. So please don't be shy. You can ask questions also in Italian if you want, since they have the headphone for translation. Okay? Raise your hand. We're going to collect some questions all together, so it's going to be faster, and then I'm going to give you the floor to answer.
Buongiorno, grazie per
Wait a second, maybe if you need to.
Buongiorno, grazie per questa lezione di giornalismo, ancora una conferma per andare avanti in questo mestiere che...
Yeah. Number two channel. Okay?
Ok.
Yeah.
Dicevo, grazie per questa lezione di giornalismo, è ancora una conferma per andare avanti in questo mestiere così bello. Volevo chiedere, nei vostri paesi esiste una legislazione ufficiale, diciamo, che tutela il vostro mestiere? E poi alla dottoressa Pancheri, sia in Italia esistono dei tentativi di intimidazione o comunque di censura rispetto alla nostra attività? Grazie.
Qualcun altro? Ne prendiamo un po' insieme così facciamo per le risposte poi più.
What's happened with Raif Badawin in Bahrain, the blogger?
You. It's for you. Okay. Over there I can see.
I don't want to make a question. I just wanted to thank you as a student for your speech, because it was very inspiring, and maybe you're not changing as much as you would like your own countries, but you're inspiring generations of journalists that will sooner than later come and write next to you and draw next to you and fight with you for freedom of expression. So thank you.
Qualcun altro? Ecco qui. Prendiamo altre. We're gonna take other 3 questions and then we're gonna pass to the answer. Okay.
Hi, my name is Lonneke from Holland. Thank you for sharing your experiences with us. I wonder, young people have a tendency not to pay for news anymore. We consume news like it's free. But how can you continue your work when the consumers or readers are not willing to pay anymore for news?
I had another question.
Yeah.
I guess it's for all the panel. How do the citizens in your country react to your work? Because we as journalists appreciate it, but do you have enough attention in your own countries?
E poi prendiamo, gonna take the last one here.
Sì, grazie comunque a tutti, era la stessa identica domanda che ha fatto lei. Magari quindi un'altra domanda potrebbe essere la solidarietà internazionale, se è arrivata in qualche modo anche da altri paesi, da parte di istituzioni o altre enti, associazioni, non lo so. Grazie comunque per il vostro lavoro.
So, ladies first, we're going to start with Farida. Maybe if you want to answer to this, the one that were generally to the panel.
The solidarity of journalists?
Yeah, about international solidarity and also the solidarity of your own citizens.
Yes. Thank you. And our citizen, of course, they are changed than before they don't. They think that journalists are as a spying, but now they know that journalists are something like a bridge between the government and themselves to reach their voice to government and the international community. And nowadays they are supporting and protecting journalists, but still, because of the some reality and fact, they can't write about. That is why they are a little bit doubt, and they can't trust the journalists, because when they are sharing a case to as a journalist, we should bring it to the media, but the journalists, because of the pressure of the government, unfortunately can't publicize it. So this is the problem, and we have the solidarity of the international community, as I before mentioned. One thing I want to take the opportunity from here to mention, right now I am as a guest of Hamburg Foundation for Persecuted People. It means I was really in a very risky situation. Since I was kidnapped, it means I fight for this press freedom or freedom of speech, for the human rights and women's rights. I suffer a lot, but the point is that I'm in Hamburg and by for 1 year scholarship, but I was supposed to go back to in the mid of June back to Afghanistan, So it means you're a young generation, you're a student. If we have the passion and we have to fight, it will be the good result for the future and for the next generation. If we accept something that's okay, no, this is problem and this is difficult to continue, we'll stop there and we will not be able to go further. That is why even they explode my 2 times in my apartment. They tried to throw acid on my face. They kidnapped me. They attacked on me and they to shoot rockets on my office. I still continue my work. I'm very interested to go back to my country. Even in Germany, there's a good possibility offer for me if I stay in Germany. I say no. I want to go back because I want to be the voice of freedom, voice of human rights. So this is really something I'm very happy to see here, the journalists and the students, the young generation, the future of a country. It is, for me, this is good news for you to be and live in a solidarity, to support each other and bring the reality. And the meanwhile, I start, because I'm working for the truth, I think how I should, it means arrive and the message of the truth for the audience. So recently I joined 59 Seconds. It's a platform for journalists, or maybe for all those they are using the smartphone. Because I think if I don't have if I have the limitation, there's no source or no organization to publish the reality. So I think let's join this. So fortunately, I joined the 59 Seconds since March, and I wish that I go back and I will work harder and harder and have a big message of solidarity for others. Thank you.
In Mexico, supposedly exists some laws to protect the journalists, but like many laws in Mexico are just ornament. I mean, are unuseful. The government used these laws in front of the international community to say, oh, exist these laws, we are protecting to the journalists, but in fact, that laws doesn't work. Article 19 in Mexico have studies that proves that more than 60% of the attacks against journalists and against media outlets are from the government. So that laws really doesn't exist. Really are not useful. And I think the lady really asked something very important. How the journalists can keep the work if the society don't want to pay for the news. And I think that is the most important issue here now. What is freedom of expression? What we are really trying to defend? Our freedom of expression? No. The freedom of expression of the people. The right to know the truth. That is the work of a journalist. Sometimes when we are organizing this kind of panels, we don't talk about that. That is not about us. It's about you, the society, the audience, the right to know. And I think that one mistake from the journalist is not explain this to the society. You are not paying to put the food in my table. Maybe I can do other kind of jobs. That is not the point. You are paying to be informed. You are paying to be informed and take better decisions. That is our work. That is not about ourselves. And I think that, thank you. But I think that is the most important. And the media, in all these world crises, in the medias, in all the world, the media have to be humildes. How can I say that word? Humilde? Humble? Yeah. And ask to the people this. Explain to people this. We need your support to inform you, to serve to you. I think that journalists have to be less arrogant and more close to the society, just to explain why we are here.
Ali?
Yeah, I couldn't hear the question, the specific question, because of the, so, yeah. Okay, about Raif, well, whatever is happening to him is horrible. We don't accept it, but this is the dark kingdom that Saudi Arabia. He's not from Bahrain, he's from Saudi Arabia. But you can imagine that the Saudi Arabia army invaded Bahrain to stop the moving forward for democratic, and they demolished around 40 or 30 mosques just because they are from different sectors. So this is the natural of that regime, and it's just the question for the journalism, why everybody is silent about the Saudi Arabia and nobody is want to talk about them and about the horrible thing that they are doing to its own people. Just about is there a law to protect our professionalism? Well, we have a law to punish the journalism, but I don't think we have a law to protect our the journalism in Bahrain. We have a union for the journalists, but it's appointed and it's ruled by the government. It's the journalism cannot have any voice inside it. And how the citizen and international community are value our work, and did they give solidarity? Personally, when I've been arrested in 2005 and 2011, I received a big attention from the international community and especially NGOs, and for me it works at least in 2005 to release me from the jail. Thank you.
For the question of do we have official laws to protect our profession? No, because we don't have official laws to protect humans anyways, you know. So anybody at any given moment can do anything to you, right? And this is why when I go to Sudan, I try as much as I can not to do anything, not to work, not to anything. I enter with a different name. I have don't tell anybody. So it's you know, you really there's absolutely no rights for anyone. This is the problem. It's not only journalists' problem, it's everybody's problem, and this is why we're trying to make this change. For the making profit, when I first started, I started working. I still work under Creative Commons license. So all my work is under Creative Commons license to share and to remix and to use. And I did that because my main purpose of doing this work is to inform, right? Of course, you know, I need the money, everybody does, but you know, we have to be creative in this day and age of social media and the internet to find other ways that people can contribute to our work. So I stage art exhibitions around the world. I sell them as prints. I sell my cartoons as artworks, but the small low-res, you can find it online and you can use it and you can share it. And this is why my work was used in Tahrir Square, was graffitied in Tahrir Square. That's why it was in Yemen. That's why. So share the knowledge. Don't worry about the profit. The profit will come later. And as I said, you know, I am here from social media. You know, 5 years ago I was drawing in my room. Nobody even knew my name. 5 weeks after that, I was in Tahrir Square where people were dying. I was in Tunisia with the activists, you know. So don't worry about the profit for now. Do your job, the money will come. The recognition, if you're doing a great job, it will come to you. Don't worry about that. If we have our people in our countries are supporting us, as I said, I work on social media strictly because I would like to be independent. I would like to be, I don't like to an editor to tell me what to do. I would like to do how I feel the situation is happening, and how I feel from the street, and how I feel from my friends, and how my family feels. So I work on social media, and that's the best, for me, it's the best way, because when I put a cartoon, I instantly see what it means to other people. So people talk, people have a dialogue, you know, people from different parties, people from, you know, the Muslim Brotherhood, a liberal, communist, everybody talks together. So you see it. It's not about having support, but it's about creating that. It's about asking questions and having a conversation going about what the point is of this cartoon, or what the point is of this article, or whatever. So, you know, yeah, you know, use social media. It's you know, it's a blessing, and it's why, you know, Ali is here, and it's why I am here. It's being controlled now. Yes, a lot of bloggers and a lot of tweeps are getting arrested for tweets, and, you know, and bloggers like Raif al-Badawi and like Ali are getting arrested. But again, you know, this is the only thing that we have where we come from. So you have freedom of expression here. You have the right to do whatever you want to do, to say whatever you want to say, but don't take that for granted. You know, it's like you have power, use it for good. You know, and I'm a big fan of comic books. And Spider-Man's aunt told him, with great power comes great responsibility, right? Yeah, so, so yeah, I think it's a good quote. Did we have solidarity from international society? Yes, we do. And again, this is the reason why I'm here. And I remember last year I got arrested in Egypt in the airport, and I was under interrogation, and I was detained for a day. And you know, when I came out, I just saw a lot of messages and emails from, we have something called the Cartoonist Rights group. So they basically follow your case and send it out to international media and so on. So, you know, there's a cartoonist facing 40 years right now in Malaysia for 4 counts of also insulting the king or something like that. So his case is now ongoing with the cartoonist movement. And also they helped me when, you know, I get a lot of threats online. It became kind of, you know, normal. And when my accounts got hacked, so you know, people do, again, you know, if you do work on the ground, if you do work with activists, and if your work is substantial and it has good content, you will get support, definitely. And this is why we're all here. And I really would like to thank you guys, and I really like to thank the Journalism Festival and Chris, because I got to meet very amazing, inspiring people and heroes like yourself.
Thank you. To conclude, there was a question to me about freedom of expression in Italy. I'm going to answer in Italian because it was did in Italian. So vorrei fare 2 nomi in questa sala, penso che sia molto importante farli. Walter Tobagi e Mario Francese, 2 giornalisti che sono morti, uno per le Brigate Rosse e l'altro per mano della mafia. Ma andando a guardare le cose più attuali, io ho conosciuto il lavoro di Anabel per la prima volta leggendo le pagine di un giornalista e collega italiano che è Roberto Saviano, che vive sotto protezione. Come sapete, come lui ce ne sono altri in Italia, abbiamo Liria Battola, Capacchione, insomma sono tanti casi. Io credo che in un paese, finché bisognerà vivere sotto protezione e sotto scorta, semplicemente per fare il proprio lavoro, semplicemente per raccontare delle storie, per informare le persone, allora è un paese in cui ci sono ancora dei problemi per quanto riguarda la libertà di espressione. Detto questo, I would like really to thank this incredible and inspiring panel and the Journalist Festival to let me moderate it. And I would like to thank you for all that you have done until now, and to quote Anabel, because we will never stop. Thank you.